Daniel, if I could come to you first, let's start with the very immediate matter. Will you be calling for Theresa May's, or a leadership challenge for Theresa May? Will you be submitting a letter to call for a leadership vote?
No, I won't. I haven't submitted a letter and I don't intend to. I think changing the team captain at this stage in the negotiations would be highly irresponsible. However, the deal that she has brought back is obviously causing a lot of us genuine Brexiteers a great deal of concern. We feel that in this Herculean battle of wills between the sovereign nation state and the European Union, we have given away too much and we have caved in to their somewhat unreasonable demands, certainly over Northern Ireland, and about the customs union, which will prevent us from striking our own trade deals. So I think getting this through Parliament will be a very difficult process for the Prime Minister.
But of course, Daniel, May's team would argue that what you're objecting to there is the backstop deal, and the backstop is not designed to be used.
Well, we are still in the process of reading the 585-page document which was published yesterday, which we got sight of yesterday. The Northern Ireland backstop is one of many issues which we feel that the government have caved in on. This is not just for us. Remember, there are hundreds of millions of Eurosceptics across the continent of Europe. I'm the first Polish-born British Member of Parliament, and even Poland, which is a net recipient of EU funds, has increasing concerns and problems with the European Union, and how we extricate ourselves from this organisation could and will be a prototype for others to follow. If it's shown that a sovereign nation as large as ours, the fifth largest economy in the world, a permanent member of the UN Security Council, has to bow and scrape down to the elites of Brussels, it's going to set back the Eurosceptic cause by generations, and that's something that we're not prepared to countenance.
OK, stay with us, Daniel. Stephen, let's come to you. I assume you'll say that Theresa May will survive this, but correct me if I'm wrong. And if that is the case, let's move on to a conversation about the Commons. What do you think you'll be asked to vote on? Do you think it will be presented as a binary choice? The Speaker, I understand, has some role to play here.
Yeah, I think it will be a very clear binary choice that MPs have to vote on. That's not to say there won't be the possibility of some other votes that might not be binding, but there will be a clear binding vote, a clear choice between supporting what many people feel is a suboptimal deal, doesn't quite deliver the full Brexit vision that the hard Brexiteers like Daniel Kawczynski were campaigning for, but nevertheless protects manufacturing, protects a large portion of UK industry that relies on free trade and easy trade with the EU.
So you will vote for this?
I've not read all of the details.
Right.
I'm likely to vote for it because I was one of those people who were urging Theresa May to strike such a compromise package. When you have a divided nation, so closely divided, 52-48%,
yes,
what Theresa May has been trying to do for the last year is actually chart a course through the middle and speak to both parts of the country, neither extreme wing of the debate, not the hard Brexiteers or the people who think Brexit's terrible and want to stop it. Neither of those two extreme wings will be happy with the deal. That's not what Theresa May is trying to do. She's trying to actually put together something that protects our industry and our economy.
And Daniel, isn't that the point, that this pleases nobody, but only a deal that pleased nobody was ever going to stand any chance of getting through the House of Commons because it is so divided and the party itself is so divided? How many rebels do you think there will be when it comes to a Commons vote?
Well, first of all, I take exception to the term extreme. We are not extremists in any way. Don't forget, 17.4 million British citizens voted for leave, and the British electorate is far more sophisticated than I think some people give them credit for. They knew exactly what they were doing 2 years ago when they voted to pull out of the European Union. Now, pulling out of the European Union means pulling out of the customs union. It means pulling out of the single market. It means taking back control of our borders and our money and our sovereignty. And creating a new sovereign nation and making your own politicians directly accountable to you, I would argue, is a very moderate and sensible proposal rather than being an extremist one. In terms of the rebels, I would say to you that clearly over the next few days the European Research Group, which I'm a member of, will be discussing this agreement over the coming days and weeks. I anticipate as a large number, maybe as high as 40 or 50 Conservative MPs rebelling against this. So with the Labour Party Party also voting against it and other minority parties voting against it, I think the Prime Minister is going to have to pull a significant rabbit out of the hat in order to get this through the House of Commons.
Yes, and you will be aware of the consequences if you do vote against it then, Daniel. What do you think they will be?
Well, I think I had a 2-hour discussion with Peter Lilly yesterday, who is a former member of the Margaret Thatcher cabinet and a very senior elder party statesman who was actually involved in helping to set up the WTO rules, which we trade very successfully with our single largest trading partner as a country, the United States of America. And there are many companies, even in my constituency, who say, we trade very successfully with America and others on WTO terms. Of course, we will make changes and we will adapt ourselves to changing circumstances in terms of trading with the European Union if we go to WTO terms. It's not something we should be frightened of. Of course there will be changes. Of course there will be uncertainty in the very short to medium term. But are we prepared to fulfill what the British electorate voted for, namely to regain our sovereignty and then start negotiating with the European Union as a third country as to the sort of relationship that we want with them? One based on mutual trust, one based on trying to ensure that there is a free movement of goods and services, but as two separate entities, rather than being shackled, as we are going to be, to the EU supranational structure. We've just had another resignation today from a colleague that both Stephen and I respect greatly, Silas Vara, who was a junior minister for Northern Ireland.
Okay.
He himself, as somebody who has worked in Northern Ireland, knows how damaging this will be to the province.
OK, Daniel, thank you. I mean, the IMF takes a very different view to your own on those WTO rules and a hard Brexit, but let's leave that there for the moment. Just briefly, last word to you then, Stephen. Do you think this will pass if it gets to a Commons vote, given the numbers we're talking about here? Do you see it passing? Yeah,
Theresa May needs 320 members of Parliament to vote for it. Now, she's going to have to look wider than the Conservative Party for that. We may not even have the Democratic Unionists from Northern Ireland to help us. So she needs to be speaking in her statement today as much to pragmatic, moderate Labour MPs.
There must be a lot of Labour rebels then.
Well, we don't know what the size is. I was talking to a Labour MP late last night and he wasn't holding out much hope for that kind of pragmatic pool of Labour MPs to come on board and support this. But we've got some time. There's a lot of explaining to do. Big challenge for Theresa May, but she's proved her critics and her doubters wrong before.